on blast.
We have a listener question, Sheldon. Liz Spann wants to know, John, are you related to Ryan Reynolds?
That's where we're starting? Really?
That's where we're starting. And to the best of my knowledge, no, I don't believe I am. But thank you so much, Liz. I'm John Chidley Hill. Right? He is Canadian, but he's from BC, which is very far away. And I do have cousins in BC, but they were born in Quebec because, God help me, my mother is a Quebecer. I'm John Chidley Hill.
How just catching strays here? What's going on? For no reason. Someone's listening right now in Montreal, like, whoa, what did we do? What's going on here?
Qu'est-ce que c'est là?
Je m'appelle Sheldon.
Well done. Je suis John Chidley Hill, and this is You Killed It, the podcast talking about the much requested All Stars Season 2. You guys wanted it, so we're doing it.
I'm going to say this right off the bat. The only reason this is being done right now is because the people wanted it. I was like, I kind of enjoyed the Challenge All Stars Season 1. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would have, I'll be honest. But I was still kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this. Things are really busy still. And then the people decided, no, we really want you to do this. So, we want to give shout outs to you guys for writing in because we say it all the time. All of the fans, the listeners, the men and women that are in the mentions all the time, we see the messages. We appreciate that. And we mean it when we say that this is truly, truly, truly your show, because we do this because of the community that's been built over time. And, here we are. And, I'm thinking right here, I'm going to read this comment here from Sarah. Sent this to me on Instagram. She says, "Hi, Sheldon. Happy New Year. This is going to be random, but just wondering if you guys are going to do the challenge podcast on All Stars this season." Well, this is my response. And Sarah, the answer is yes. Yes, we are. Welcome to that episode.
It would have been so great if you said no, and then we just played the outro music, and that's it.
Well played. Yeah. See, that's what it would have been if we took time to produce these episodes. You know what I mean?
Brandy, I've heard about producing.
Brandy writes in and says, yes, you should definitely recap All Stars. So Brandy, here you go as well. We will not roll the intro music on you because we gave away the bit. But again, yeah, if we actually plotted things out, that would have been a pretty funny bit. Maybe next year.
I've honestly lost count of how many people asked us to do this. But I'm glad we're doing it. I have to admit, I would not be watching this show if it was not for you, the listeners. So...
And I'll say this, the reason what's kind of weird about this, and we've barely started. I'm already on a tangent, so I apologize. But in a weird way, this has almost become more of the challenge than the actual challenge. And what I mean by that is we don't even get the real party scenes anymore on the normal challenge right? We don't really get that. We kind of do, but not really. It's kind of become more and more boring. But also this episode, this season of the challenge, or Challenge All Stars, the brand, I'll say, I feel like it is what it is. It's comfortable with the role that it fits, right? We're all older than we were when we used to be on the challenge, and now we're back. We're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time. You know what I mean? Or I think I flipped that around the other way. It's supposed to be we're here for a good time, not a long time. But you know what I'm trying to say here? It's early in the morning, okay? But the point remains, I feel like it's just more comfortable with what it is, whereas the normal regular challenge is in this weird thing where they're trying to fit into this CBS brand of being just nice and happy and, hey, we're just here for the competition. It's nah, we want the party. Or at least I want the party.
I mean, I want the party too. I'm going to save my thoughts because a
Yeah,
lot
let's
of
go.
people. I think it's an ongoing debate, though. Yeah, lay it on me.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question about this, right? So, Challenge All Stars, episode 1. This is where we're at right now. Recap of episode 1. I want to ask you to start, okay? Because they kind of go through a bunch of people in the cast for the majority of the episode, just introducing you or reintroducing you to people in the cast while playing Backstreet Boys, which I guess maybe I'll ask you this first, which I don't know if I've asked you this before on this pod, but Backstreet Boys are NSYNC.
I'm so glad you asked because I had the same question for you. And I think, so at the time, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was definitely an NSYNC guy. And there's no doubt that of the 10 people who've been in both either Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, Justin Timberlake is the most talented.
Okay.
And so like I feel like he's sort of like the engine that drives NSYNC in that respect. But like in hindsight, I think I prefer Backstreet Boys. Like when I hear their songs, I'm more likely to get hyped. How about you? Are you a Backstreet Boys guy or an NSYNC guy?
It's got to be NSYNC, man. And especially once they switched over and started, hitting into the hip hop when they had like the tracks with Nelly or they had the tracks with Clips. Oh no, was that just a Timberlake song? That was just a Timberlake song, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Timberlake
fair.
Throws it.
But that Nelly track was that Girlfriend?
Oh, his Girlfriend, right? Yeah.
It's a big track, right? Like once hip hop went full on mainstream, and then you're getting the crossover and Timberlake has braids and stuff and everything's like, whoa, what's going on here? Right? Like 2 out of the 5 members of NSYNC had a braid up. I was like, what's going on here? But the point remains, they got some bops. But I think I got to lean NSYNC. I want the people. The reason I asked the question too is because I want people to hit us up in the mentions too, because I feel like the majority of people watching this show, okay, the reason why I brought this up was because I feel like this was an example, and I don't know if we talked about this on the pod before, but the overall strategy done by MTV, right? So MTV's ratings for as a whole entire network about 10 years ago, not even 10 years, maybe 5 years ago, kind of took a downturn, right? They couldn't figure anything out. You kind of have to, the one thing MTV's been good at is rebranding, refiguring out how to hit their audience. And what they did about 5 years ago was they went back to the well playing the hits. So if you notice, Jersey Shore came back, right? The Hills came back. All these different shows where they went back and got the people who had hits before, but now the audience has also grown up with them. So now you're going to come back and watch to see Jersey Shore because I've grown up. They've grown up. Let's get caught up on how everyone's doing. And that's kind of where this Challenge All-Stars fits right into that as well. And it becomes a nostalgic watch. And I know why I enjoy watching it, because you hit the music and it takes us back to where we were when, these songs were hitting, or it takes us back to when, like they had the prom theme party and all that. So I appreciate that side of what this show represents, even though I might not enjoy as much, some of the people who are on it, or I might be like, wait, who's that guy? But NSYNC. So
I do have a comment about the music, which is part of what like Real World and Road Rules and like early Challenge, we're talking like in the 2000s Challenge, it was used to promote music. So there'd be like the new hotness. And like, this was a big thing for you young folks listening. Like a lot of TV shows would do this. Like do you remember like, how there's like MLB This Week? Do you remember there was an NHL equivalent that was also on like Saturday afternoons on like, I remember watching it, and because I'm Canadian and that's what we do. And there was, they had like a highlight reel video set to Len's Steal My Sunshine. And like, first of all, it was like, this was like just as that Len crest was starting to peak, the wave at Elise side was happening. And but I understood in that moment, I'm like, oh, I see, they use this, like record labels have deals to promote music, right? And like we talked about that a lot last season with Emmy and I Am an Alien. But like What's great
not?
What's great about Challenge
I'm
All-Stars is that they're not trying to promote songs. Like, there's no A&R rep trying to like slide their track in. They're like, let's just play big shiny tunes and call it a day. Like,
yes. This is just like whoever the producers are of a certain age and remember as well, or just someone who's young and does some good research. But either way, multiple times, and we'll get there in this episode, whenever things pop up, I'm like, oh, hey, and I'm like jamming, watching along, enjoying it. The people watching the video right now on YouTube are like jamming with me too, I hope, but that's just a feeling, and that's how important music is, and that's the allure to me anyways. I guess what I like the most about this version of the challenge, right? So with that said, with a bunch of the people that they showed at the very beginning of this episode, it was kind of just an introduction, or as I said, reintroduction. Who stood out to you the most or kind of like caught your attention? And let's go at it that way. Instead of trying to go through every single person they brought up, who are kind of the important people that you saw that you were like, oh, hey, this is what I thought about blank?
Brad, looking more and more like a militiaman from Michigan, which is hard to say. Jasmine, Darrell, Tyler, those are the big four. But like the people that I was noting down, the reason why I was noting them down was they could, in my opinion, could still be on the regular challenge. Like Tyler is from the same season of Real World as Johnny Bananas.
Yeah.
CT is older than most of these people. Like at one point, Casey mentioned she's 34. Like Smashley is like 33 and CT is 38, like, or 39. Like you guys are in the ballpark. Like I understand that these people, I mean, sort of the thing that unites this cast is that they have families, like they have real lives. But my point is just that, like, I feel like a Darrell, as an example, could definitely still give the young bucks a run for their money on the regular challenge, certainly physically, which had me really thinking about like the how are they choosing the cast members, and like which cast members are being like, no, I want to do this show rather than that show, right? Like CT could just like show up on this show and make some easy money, right? Like,
so I was listening to Bananas with Amanda, right? Like on Bananas' pod the other day, and she was asking him about if he would go on All Stars or if he's going to come back to the challenge. But basically they're talking about the challenge All Stars. And, you know, the way that Bananas kind of talked about it, I agree with, right? He was talking about it more in the sense that for him, he's like, no, I got to go back. Like he wants to go back on the normal challenge because CT's starting to catch up to him, and all-star victories don't count, right? Is what he said, which I agree with. But
I agree
also,
too.
You know, the one part to remember when discussing both shows is obviously they filmed this show. It's only 10 episodes as opposed to 20 they end up making the other. And obviously for them to film these 10 episodes, like we notice it here with episode 1, we end on a cliffhanger, right? So you can tell that they filmed the whole season within maybe 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So like the time away that you have to give up from your job or from your family is a lot easier for these people to justify. Because as you mentioned, this is like, you know, just a good side hustle. Whereas on the challenge, for a lot of those people, that's their job, right? Like Amanda might be one of the few people who actually have like a career, right? That are on the actual challenge. But most of those other folks, right? Like they don't have an actual like job, or I shouldn't say they don't have an actual job. They don't have a career, I'll say, right? It's very few and far between.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that this season of All Stars is interesting because it's in my opinion, I mean, I haven't like looked at the ages. It feels like it is a younger cast than last season of All Stars, just by like 5 or so years.
I agree with that.
There is one person who's back, though, that we have to talk about.
Tech Money?
No, I love Tech, and I'm glad Tech's back.
I'm joking.
Derek K is back. And listeners of You Killed It would know that neither you nor I were impressed with the Derek and Mark Long show. They were, in my opinion, the worst part of All Stars season 1. Derek is back.
Doing too much.
Doing way too much. We're going to talk about that. But he says something early on that I find very upsetting. He says that he's the baddest motherfucker to ever compete. And I didn't realize that Derek was spelled CT. Am I wrong? Like,
I didn't notice that.
He said at one point,
I totally missed that.
At one point, he said, "I'm the baddest motherfucker to ever play this game." It's categorically not true. Like, I would, first of all, CT has to be the number one pick. First of all, he's won the most money. Second of all, he's closing in on most wins, period. Third of all, he's an animal. Fourth, there's other people who I consider more impressive. Like, you know who's more impressive than Derek? Jordan, I'm not sure Jordan's... Yeah, there's... Like, I think that Sarah Rice is more impressive. In her way, I think Smashley is more impressive in terms of, like, their physical accomplishments. Like, what we have seen them able to do consistently. Kara, Laurel, like, the list goes on. Like, Derek is living on another planet.
I think Derek's biggest issue to me is he's doing a bootleg Johnny Bananas impression, right? Like, he's trying too hard to be like the leader or be like the man. And I don't know if anything that he's done actually equates to having that level of, you know, oh, I'm the guy, right? Like, I'm the guy on the movie poster type thing, right? And I just don't see that. I don't get it. And he's all right. He's a pretty good competitor, right? He's a solid competitor, but it's not like anyone's afraid of him. It's not like he won last year, right? Like, it's kind of weird and kind of misguided. And again, just doing too much, if you ask me.
I have another comment, and maybe I'm not the person to be making this comment, but I'm going to throw it out there. I've had my cookies this morning. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling secure. There was a period on the challenge where there was a lack of people of color. Specifically, there was a lack of Black people. It was often, frankly, just Leroy. But what has struck me as they're going through this cast and they're looking back, I had forgotten that the challenge of the early 2000s had a lot of great Black representation. Like, did you pick up on this? I was like, when they kept like looking at the cast, like they were looking at like Ayanna and like showing who she was beefing with. I'm like, oh, like it was way more diverse, and then it got really white, and now it's diverse again. Like, that's interesting.
So I wonder if, and I don't know, right? So maybe our listeners, viewers can help us out here. But I wonder if it was more diverse, or they're just doing a better job now of making the cast that we see now more diverse. I don't know. Because I can't say that I remember exactly. Because if I'm being honest, there were a lot of people where I'm like, I kind of remember you, or I kind of remember that season, but I don't really remember that season. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, even someone like Jody, right? When Jody popped up, I'm like, oh, I kind of remember you. I'm like, oh, right. And then it took a little bit, and I was like, no, I do remember you, but I can't say that I remember the cast, you know, the rest of the cast that she was on with. So, you know, I know what you're saying, but I think the one thing that we know is going on in all forms of media and production right now is that at the forefront of whatever the casting is that's being done, it's like at the top of the list where you need to make sure that you have a diverse representation of, I guess, you know, society. Right? Yeah. Like, you know, I don't know if I could put it any better. I was going to go on a tangent about something else, but there's no need to do that now. But I will say this. I do see your point. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of people on this cast. It's a very diverse cast in terms of just any and everybody from whatever background, whatever, you know, sexual orientation, like any and everything. I feel like there's a good mix on this cast.
Yeah, I like this cast, except for Derek K, who I find annoying, which is generous of me. So,
I'm trying to think who else stood out to me.
Yeah, who stood out to you?
Tina, I kind of remembered, but quickly, like she reminded me just because she's just loud. And I was like, oh yeah, no. Like I really remember you now. Darrell, of course, because he's just a beast. I didn't really remember Steve, but he is doing a very good bootleg Jason Momoa impression. Like, I don't know if people are on Instagram enough and they follow Six Buzz or one of those sites, but you know how they always keep showing the fake Drake?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this guy like around?
I have seen
Who's, like,
fake Drake
actively, cutting like the heart into his hair, like
and wearing
like
OVO.
Drake. Yeah. And they have him at parties and he's in the club like rapping Drake songs to girls and stuff. That's the vibes I was getting from watching Steve pull this like Jason Momoa lookalike thing. And I was like, you're a professional hand model, bro. Like that's a thing. I needed to know more about that. Like, how do you discover, because I like to think my hands are okay, but how would I know enough to be like, oh, I could be a hand model? And what does that pay? I had a lot of questions. Again, if our viewers can answer them, DMs are open.
It just reminded me of that episode of Seinfeld where George is going to become a hand model. And I was like, oh, this is a real thing. Like, saying that you're a hand model seems like the sort of thing that you tell people you do for a living when you're going to a high school reunion because you don't want them to know that you're working at the Winners. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like a cover. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't rag on Winners. They have excellent deals, designer brands for, discount prices. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a cover job. It's not a real job. It's like telling people you're a sports journalist. It's not real. Like,
well, in that same vein, I don't know what Tech's really been up to now or what Tech does, but when I see Tech, I always just think his best work is still Van Wilder. So, I mean,
Tech is fantastic. And you know who else is a fan of Tech? Ayana, who makes it clear when Tech goes skinny dipping that he's doing well for himself, that he's showing up and showing out. And like, good on her, good on him, I gotta say, he does such a good job of walking that obnoxious line. You know what I mean? Like, he has just enough charisma to make it work. If he had any less, he'd be Derek. But instead, he's actually amusing and like charming. I'm like, this guy would be great. I don't know about
call himself Tech Money.
Yeah, and get away with it. Like, who's that? Who is that guy? Oh, he was on one season of The Challenge. He was from Big Brother. He is married to Bailey.
Swaggy C.
If he had less charisma, he'd be Swaggy C. Like, Tech Money can get away with calling himself Tech Money. Christopher cannot get away with calling himself Swaggy C. You know what I mean? And like, it's so hard to like define why it works for one and not the other. Maybe it literally comes down to the fact that Tech has apparently a big dick. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But one of them's pulling it off and one of them's not.
That BDE coming in strong, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Ladies, let us know. Yeah, I was also happy to see TJ back because TJ's just that dude. A lot of people I didn't really remember, like Casey, I don't remember at all. But anytime you're walking with the call of being the worst challenge player ever, I'm kind of like, whoa, okay. I mean, that's a tough one, right? That's a tough one to come back from. And Katie, I always bring up Katie, and halfway through writing this down, I was kind of like, I'm pretty sure I said this last season, but it still struck me again because she catches me so off guard because she looks so much like Sophia Bush. And it throws me off so much because I loved One Tree Hill as a kid and I was obsessed with Brooke. And so Katie throws me, like, hold on, One Tree Hill. First off, in my adult life, you're laughing so hard right now at me, but listen, in my adult life right now, okay, part of what I do in my free time is we do this reality TV podcast. So would it be a shock to anyone that I enjoyed a television show as a kid that was a basketball themed version of a high school drama? Like, of course. And it was filmed at Michael Jordan's high school. Of course, that's going to be right up my alley. So, anyways, yeah, sorry.
I'm just laughing
I feel like
hard
I went on this tangent last episode, or last season of Challenge All Stars, but hey,
it's just I'm laughing so hard because on this podcast, on You Killed It, I'm the one who like owns ridiculous fandom. Like I'm the one that like I think last episode of You Killed It, I was touting S Club 7. And you caught me wrong-footed. I knew about your love of One Tree Hill, and I forgot how much it means to you and how formative it was to you as a young man.
It's a great show. Great show. I stand by it.
I don't think I've seen a single episode of. Yeah, she is back. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen a single episode of One Tree Hill. So, like, I'm not even.
Wow.
I know. I'm sorry, Sheldon.
Loss, man.
I hope we can remain friends. Just remember, nobody's perfect. My opinion
of you has shifted. My opinion of you has drastically shifted. Come on, man. Like a high school basketball version of like 90210. How's that not going to win? It's a huge dub. Huge dub.
All I'm saying is, I've never seen an episode of One Tree Hill, but you've definitely heard an S Club 7 song at some point in your life. So
there was a guy I used to work with that used to call me S Club 7.
Why?
Just because my name is Sheldon. I think he thought that was I don't know. I think he thought he was being creative. I don't know.
Give me his name off air. I'm going to take shit up with him.
There's something I could say to like tell you who he is, but I'm not going to say that on a live mic on camera. But yeah. Off the air, I'll make a note of that.
So the competition is boarding party, which they have to jump from a Zodiac to a boat, pick up a skull, then run across a narrow bridge to another boat where they will slam dunk the skull. It's a timed event. How's it go, Sheldon?
I mean, TJ sums it up. And huge shouts to TJ because only TJ could possibly do this where he just slanders everybody. But there's a beam. First off, this could have been an interesting challenge, but instead everyone uses the opportunity to go across the beam as slowly as possible. Nobody even attempted really to try to run across. I guess maybe Nehemiah, and I don't even know. It almost looked like Nehemiah just tried to like jump down on it on purpose. That's how like bad of a job he did. But yeah, he might be having trouble trying to have kids, would be my assumption after that fall.
Yep.
But I digress. Just a terrible performance. And I couldn't believe how bad people were and how like the lack of actually attempting to go. And I wondered if they were that bad because they're just trying not to lose, as TJ said, right? Because you don't want to go home right away.
Yeah.
As opposed to like trying to win. Like if they did this challenge later on in the season, would more people have tried to win?
I think so. And I also think that, I mean, they kept showing us like confessionals and stuff where people were talking about how nervous they were. And I don't think people had really found their confidence yet. And I also think that part of what made this possible was the first pair to go across were Ryan and Jasmine, and they were super slow. And because they were so slow, I think most people knew, well, I don't have to risk walking or running across this beam because I can go faster than them and I won't be last. Mm-hmm. So because Ryan and Jasmine set such a slow pace, it set everyone else up to be able to play it more conservatively, where if someone had come out of the gate and set a quicker time, people would be like, the only way I can beat that is if I actually walk across. Yeah. And I should say, this is my line of the episode. Darrell says, yes, America. We're in Canada, but fair enough. Yes, America. This is full speed, not slow motion. As Ryan and Jasmine, I mean, when I say they're inching along, I mean, they were literally moving inch by inch. It's like we saw like later ones, like Derek and Jody ultimately won. And they were like sort of hopping across, like ass first, but you know, they were moving like 6, 8 inches at a time. Ryan and Jasmine were literal inches at a time.
No, I totally agree. And the one part that was super interesting, and you just mentioned your line of the episode, so I'm going to give my line of the episode because it was during this scene as well. And I thought you might know where I'm going with this, but clearly you don't. So I'm just going to go because I'm super excited because my line of the episode was booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Booty, 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 rocking everywhere. I found you, this new booty. Yo, that song was a banger, right?
What do you mean was a banger? It still is a banger.
True. That's fair. That's fair. And I have a funny story because I remember when this song came out, I was working at this. Well, it doesn't matter where I was going to say, but most of our listeners don't know where that is anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But I used to work at an old network, and this network was like, there's a very much like a younger vibe, right? Like younger, you know, more, one of my friends used to describe it as, it was like kind of like high school, except like we got paid and we actually like did work. Do you know what I mean? So, it was jokes, right? So this song came out, and I remember when it came out, like, first off, that song was heavy in the club, heavy on the rate. Like, it was just a banger. And I remember it was so stuck in my head that every once in a while, I would just randomly just go, booty, 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 rocking everywhere, right? For no reason. So picture me at work and just randomly singing that. And I would catch myself and be like, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing that. And then one of my coworkers would be like, what are you singing? And I'm like, sorry, my bad. Bubba Sparks, catchy ass song. No word of a lie. Fast forward 2 weeks, and now they're doing the exact same thing that I was doing. And I'm like, wait a second. Weren't you guys trying to call me out like a couple of weeks ago for singing this song? They're like, sorry, like it's just a catchy ass song. What do you want me to do? I'm like, hey, not even mad at you. Not even mad at you. Do your thing. But bottom line, that was my line of the episode because Bubba Sparks, that is a big tune. Big tune.
We have a mutual acquaintance. I'm not going to embarrass her, but like her nickname on my cell phone is Ms. New Booty.
Oh, jeez.
and I have a guy we went to high school with hated that song. And I used to, whenever I could, I would create, like, instead of Rickrolling, I would set it up so that he'd have to hear Bubba Sparks at like the least opportune times because he hated it so much. I have an idea though. I have an idea to produce on the fly. Okay. You've inspired me, Sheldon. How about on top of doing our line of the episode, we do our song of the episode?
Oh, I like that. Yeah. No, I'm in with that. Definitely.
So, because I'll tell you what mine is. Because in this same scene, actually, it was as Ryan and Jasmine went across the beam. But clearly, that moment really had an impact on me. Creep by TLC is so underrated. That song is so good. I love that song.
I was trying to think if it's underrated. And I mean, maybe because like as I like to say all the time now, if you were outside when that song was a thing, I mean, that song was everywhere. Like TLC was everywhere, right? So I'm like, I don't know if it's underrated, but I think about it now and I don't really hear it now. Yeah, I don't really hear it that much now. It doesn't get so much. And TLC, like, I don't think lives in the lexicon it should. You know what I mean? In terms of like legendary status. And even if it does get brought up, it's more like Waterfalls that gets brought up, you know, probably because, you know, and that's just like, okay, yeah, I get it. Commercial radio, whatever. But like in terms of like a banger, like, oof, yeah, it's a banger. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And what I mean is it's underrated in terms of like their discography. And like, I mean, you said it, Waterfalls is the best known TLC song at this point. And
best known, yes. Okay. I got you.
Best known. And I would say like No Scrubs is also ahead, probably Unpretty as well.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. But in terms
of
like,
Creep is my favorite.
Yeah.
So we already said it. But Derek and Jody Win. They have to nominate 4 players to go in. Nehemiah and who's his partner? Ayana. Automatically go in because they were last because she fell into the water.
Hold on. We got to bring up a couple things here, though, about the actual challenge and like one tech just pushing his partner into the water as she was trying to. She's like, I'm kind of scared. I don't know if I can dunk it. And he's like, don't worry, I got you. And he just like pushes her in the water. It's like, what are you doing? And then him like telling the producers, hey, make sure you slow-mo show my dunk. This guy's great. This guy's great TV. I know why they bring him back.
So yeah, as we said, Nehemiah and Ayana automatically go in, and God help us, Derek and Jody win. So they have to pick 4 people, 2 men, 2 women, and then the house votes on who goes in from those 4, and it's a double elimination every episode.
So, couple things here. Great strategy by, building up the drama, because now you're forcing, first off, the strategy, I think Darrell and Kendall, who I think on the low is a really good team going forward. We'll pay attention to that. But their mentality of, well, we don't need to win. We just need to not lose because it's too early in the game. And you don't want to win these first challenges because now you have to pick 4 people and guaranteed. Okay. So there's 2 people that are going to be in, right? Let's put it this way. There's 6 people who are on the brink of going home. Only 2 of those people are actually going to leave, meaning there's 4 other people that will then have a reason to not like you as the winner going forward. So 4 people, and then those 4 people's friends. That's not a good look. Why would you want to be in that scenario, right? But here we are, and Derek does the absolute worst job because he tries to. Okay, go on.
All I was going to say, we should wrap up and save that for episode 2 before we get too far.
Okay. Yeah, because I forget where this episode ended. This episode ended. Oh, they didn't even get to the nomination or anything, right? That's where the episode ended. Not. Ah, yes. That is where it ended. Good. See, producing live on the air. That's what we call it on the
air. So, who killed it? It's hard, but who killed it for you for episode 1?
That is a good question. Who killed it in episode 1? I mean, I want to say Bubba Sparks, but that's not really fair. That seems like such a cop-out.
Because no one can compete with Bubba Sparks?
Well, I don't remember. Hold on. I have to go in my notes because I want to make sure that I have this correct. You know what? I'm not going to give it to Bubba Sparks, but I'm going to give it to whoever is the music supervisor. Because anytime you can go from Backstreet Boys to Bubba Sparks to Mobb Deep Shook Ones, all in the same episode. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here just like, hold on, what's going on here? Like, that's versatility right there. So bravo, salute to you, the music supervisor. And I have a feeling that this might not be the last time that I say the MVP of the episode is a music supervisor of this show, the Challenge All-Stars.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to go with TJ for killing it. Because this first episode, no one really distinguished themselves except Derek, who I dislike immensely, in case that hasn't come across to our listeners. So I'm going with TJ because classic TJ, just spitting facts, telling people that the 2 teams that were the least terrible. And he also, I don't know if you caught this, he called Tina loudmouth. Like when he said,
I did.
So just spitting bullets. So I'm going with TJ.
So as you mentioned, Tina, who I feel like is going to be a focal point as long as she's on the show, but she had a whole scene where she just like brought up her boobs for absolutely no reason at all. Like it made no sense at all. She's just like, oh yeah, this is a lot harder for me, because of, these things weren't here the last time I was on this show. And I was like, okay, how is this relevant to you balancing on this beam?
I didn't, when she did that, I wanted to point out that like, a lot of the women have large breasts. Like, how can I put this? She doesn't distinguish herself in that respect. Like it was a common challenge that apparently many of the women would have to overcome.
But I was just kind of like, okay, cool. I like boobs, but like this was unnecessary. I don't know. But anyway, sorry. Just wanted to fit that part in.
That's fair. So where can the good people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including the YouTube page. Find out where you can find these videos, hit the comment section, have a full-on discussion. That's what we like to do here. You can see I'm rocking the DRF Sports hat, another project we've been doing here on the On Blast Network, where we got football picks coming up. I don't know when people are listening to this, but it's playoff time, and yeah, hit us up. We got you covered with a lot of things. And as a wise man once said, there ain't no such things as halfway crooks. I don't know how that fits, but I just wanted to say that.
And I mean, you have to quote Shook Ones whenever you have an opportunity because it's fantastic. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jchidleyhill. And because I'm young and hip and cool, I now have TikTok. And so I'm trying to get that going. So you can find me at Jesus Chuttlesworth on TikTok.
Is that for real?
That's for real.
Is that a real thing?
That is really my handle on TikTok.
That's so good. That's so good. Oh man, I don't even know what to say. I don't have anything there. You got me speechless there.
Until next week, this was You Killed It.
You killed it.
On blast.